Good morning, students. Hope you are all doing well. Are you all bored sitting at home? Are you ready to visit with me two beautiful places in the world and to know about the people and the culture and the place there? So in today's class, let us visit two important places or the two beautiful places in the world through the lesson Japan and Brazil through a traveler's eye, written by George Mikish. So George Mikish, through his travelogue, is going to take us to two beautiful places, that is Japan and Brazil. Now I was telling you about travelogue. Now what is travelogue? Travelogue is nothing but travel writing, where people visit other place or some alien places, or they visit other place and record or document their experience there. So this is travel writing. I am sure when you were in lower classes or when you were in school, whenever a picnic or a tour is organized in your school, your teacher must have told you to write down whenever you visit the place, whatever you see in that place. That is nothing but travel writing. So travel writing, out of innocent what started, has now become like a serious, a business. Okay. So when did this travel writing start, or when did people start recording or documenting their travel? It dates back to some 2nd century when Greeks started recording or documenting when they visited new places, and they wrote it in a form of diary. Later, when the 9th and 10th century, when navigation started, kings and queens started sponsoring the voyages. They sent voyagers to explore new places. Those voyagers or sailors or travelers that documented their travel in the form of writing. Okay. We have seen Yuan Zhang visiting India, and then we had documented his visit. In the history we have learned that. Also we have seen kings and queens like Ferdinand and Isabella sending Columbus to explore new lands. So George Mikish, the author, was an illustrator, he was an artist, he was an author, he was a journalist, and he was a travel writer. So when he visited the land of rising sun, which is the land of rising sun? The Japan, right? So when he visited Japan, he documented or wrote about the experience he had there, or he wrote about the place, the people there in his travelogue called The Land of Rising N. See, he has used the word N. You know, N is the currency of Japan there. So in his book, The Land of Rising N, he had written about the Japanese manners. So in this lesson, we will learn about what is his perspective or what is his views on Japanese manners. So let's begin about Japanese manners. What is George Mikish has to say about Japanese manners? He says a quarter of an hour in Japan will convince you that you are among exquisitely well-mannered people. So just a small time, a little time spent in Japan will make you believe that the people of Japan are very well-mannered people, or they are exquisitely, immensely well-mannered people. So from this opinion, we come to know that Japanese people are very well-mannered people. They are well-mannered people. Okay. Next, he says people who live on hopelessly overcrowded island. We all know that Japan is a small place with lots of population. So it is an overcrowded place. Even then, people would respect another's privacy. They respected others' privacy. Okay. But or rather would have to if they had any privacy. But they don't. Since being an overcrowded place, Japan, he says, is an overcrowded place. It's an overcrowded place. Even then, people respected privacy. How is it possible? It's an overcrowded place, lots of population, but still how can how can experience privacy there? It is because since they are well mannered and they are courteous, their courtesy substituted privacy. What is courtesy? Courtesy means having respect for others' feelings or beliefs or other person, valuing other person's feelings, okay, or respecting other person's feelings. In Kannada, courtesy means saujanyate. ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಒಪಿನಿಯನನ್ನು, ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ಸನ್ನು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕರ್ಟಸಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಹೇಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೈವಸಿ ಅವರು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಂದರೆ, ಈವನ್ ದೋ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಓವರ್ ಕ್ರೌಡೆಡ್, ತುಂಬ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಉಂಟು, ಆದರೂ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೈವಸಿಯನ್ನು ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕರ್ಟಿಯಸ್, ಅವರು ಕರ್ಟಸಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೌಜನ್ಯತೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೈವಸಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. Then George Mikesh gives us an example how they maintain courtesy there. He says, for example, the little red telephones in the streets, shops, halls or hotels. The instrument is situated on a table or on a counter. They have no space to spare for booths. You conduct your most confidential business transactions, your intimate love quarrels in public, yet in perfect privacy. Anybody, any passerby could listen in, but nobody does. A man's telephone receiver, he is his castle. So here, George Mikesh gives us an example. He says, you have seen, I'm sure in India also, now it is not, that's rare. In olden times we have seen a red telephone kept on the table in the corner of a street or on the hotels. We have seen a red telephone box, isn't it? So even he says when he visited, he had seen small telephone box or booths kept on in the busy streets, kept on the table, on the counter, on the hotels and all, and the instrument is kept just on a table, okay. But even in that place, people can conduct a busy transaction or a confidential business transaction. People can conduct their business transactions. ಏನಾದರೂ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಮಾತನಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರು, ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಇರುವ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾತನಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರು ಆ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ಬೂತಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಬೂತ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಅದಲ್ಲ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ರಿಸೀವರ್ ಇದ್ದದ್ದು, ಅದನ್ನು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ಅವರು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ? ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ಬೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕರ್ಟಿಯಸ್, ಅವರು ಕರ್ಟಸಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಕರ್ಟಿಯಸ್ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಬಾದರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್. ಅವರು ಕೇಳುವುದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅಗತ್ಯನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹಾಗೆ. So because of that, people can conduct the serious business transaction or the confidential business transaction, even the public or the private talks or something which is very secret or something which is very personal thing also, like a love quarrels, that also is being done or conducted in that telephone, okay, which is kept on the table in the street, in a busy street. So here he gives one line. I request you to underline that line in the textbook. A man's telephone receiver is his castle. Castle ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮನೆ. ನಾವು ಕ್ಯಾಸಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಸಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಒಂದು ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಂದು ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದರ ಒಳಗೆ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ಬೂತ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದರ ಒಳಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾವು ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಮಗೆ ಪ್ರೈವಸಿ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಜಪಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆದರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋ ಕರ್ಟಿಯಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದೇ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೈವಸಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಲಿಸನ್. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಸಲ್, ಅದು ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು, ಒಂದು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಸೀವರ್, ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ರಿಸೀವರ್ ಈಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಸಲ್. ಸೊ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ರಿಸೀವರ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ castle. He does not want any, in Japan people do not need any booth kind of thing, okay, the receiver is a castle for them. So this is what he talks about the manners in Japan, how the people of Japan value about others' feelings or they value privacy of others by giving us an example. So dear students, a 4 marks question might be asked from this. So how did the people of Japan maintain or value privacy of others. Okay. So this is his observation about the mannerism of Japanese people there, where people valued privacy. Now second thing, in second paragraph, he talks about the bowing mania. Bowing andre bend ಮಾಡೋದು. ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಟಿವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, or if you have met any Japanese people, what is their act of respecting the other person? ನಾವಾದರೆ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಹಾಕ್ತೇವೆ, ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಆದರೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಜಾಪನೀಸ್ನವರು ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? they just bend a little and bow. So the George Mikesh, the author, says you will notice there a mania for bowing. Mania ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಂತ? mania ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹುಚ್ಚು. ಅವರಿಗೆ everybody keeps bowing there to everybody else with a ceremonious solemnity of a courtier, yet with a great deal of natural and inimitable grace. So he says people, it is it is something imbibed in them, that whenever they see the other person, they immediately bow before him. Okay, so here he gives a line. He says everybody keeps bowing to everybody else. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ bow ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ with a ceremonious solemnity of a courtier. courtier ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ ರಾಜರೆಲ್ಲ ಬರುವಾಗ ಹೇಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಆಸ್ಥಾನಿಕರೆಲ್ಲ ಬೋ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ ವಿತ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಡೀಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನಿಮಿಟೇಬಲ್ ಗ್ರೇಸ್. ಆದರೆ ಅವರು ಬೋ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅದೊಂದು ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದಿರ್ತದೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ, ಆ ಗ್ರೇಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ. ಅದು ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಯವರಿಗೆ ಹೋದವರಿಗೆ ಆ ಗ್ರೇಸ್ಫುಲ್, ಆ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ಅದು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ they are able to do it naturally and gracefully. You can see the word inimitable grace. Inimitable means something which is very rare, which others cannot follow. If we as Indians go there, we may not be able to imitate the grace which they have possessed. So he says they have it in they imbibed in them. Okay, by birth it is natural and inimitable, something special, something very rare, something which is unique, he says. So in the next paragraph he talks about the act of bowing them, an act of respecting others, greeting others, that is the act of bowing. Bowing andre gottaitalla, bowing is bending a little to greet others or to respect others. So he writes a full paragraph about bowing. What does he say? He says bowing is neither less nor more silly than shaking hands or kissing the cheek, but it is quainter, more formal, more oriental. It is also infectious. So he gives us his opinion. He says, see, whenever we go to other place, some countries we have seen people greet by shaking their hands. Some countries we have seen people folding their hands. Some countries we have seen people kissing the cheek. In foreign Western countries we have seen people greet by kissing the cheek. So but this bowing is not, even though it is considered as quainter is something old fashioned, it is more formal, more oriental, but still it is infectious, because it may, when you see people bowing, you may feel that it is an old fashioned. What is that way of respecting? Now everything is trendy, shaking hands or giving a WhatsApp or hi, bye and all. And Corona time, this is impossible, because we just do is fold our hands. We don't go to shake our hands also. But bowing is also, I think, can be considered as a good way of greeting in this pandemic situation, right? So he says bowing, though considered old fashioned, here quainter meaning is old fashioned, more formal, more oriental, it is also infectious. ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರೇಬಲ್. ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಂದ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಹರಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದರೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಹ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಚ್ ಅನ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಹೀಗೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಮೈಲ್ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಸ್, ಬೇರೆಯವರು ನಗಾಡುವುದನ್ನು ನೋಡುವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ನಗಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಅದೊಂದು ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಹಾಗೆ ಇದು ಸಹ ಹಾಗೆ ಮೋರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟರ್, ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಇದ್ದರೂ ಅದೊಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೋರ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟಲ್, ಮೋರ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್. ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ಪಾಯಿಂಟರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಷನ್, ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಶುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಯ್ ಬೈ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಓರಿಯೆಂಟಲ್ ಸಹ ಹಾಗೆ, ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಏಷ್ಯನ್ ಟ್ರೆಡಿಷನ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹರಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. After which is transferable. English we can use the word transferable. After a few hours you start bowing yourself. That's why he says it is infectious, because if you see another person bowing, immediately you will get that tendency of bowing before him. But you bow too deeply or not too deeply enough. You bow to the wrong man at the wrong time. You do not clasp your hands in front of you, which is bad, or you do, which is worse. So he says in the beginning he has used the word inimitable. No one can follow it. It is something unique. So if another person from other country visit the place and if he feels like bowing in front of others, he may do it wrongly. That's why he says the other person, a person from a foreigner may bow too deeply or not too deeply. ತುಂಬ ಬೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅವನು, ಅದು ಇಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬ ಬೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೂಲ್ ಉಂಟು. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ರೂಲ್ that this has to be only this much. They have to bow in certain way. And when we bow, Japanese people, they clasp their hands. ಅವರು ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. So you go to we as foreign country people, if we go there, we may bow in a wrong way. We may not clasp our hands, or we may bend too deeply, we may not bend too deeply, or we may bend to a wrong person. So they have a procedure, they have a rule where whom to bend whom. Okay, that's what he says. You will discover that Japanese have a complicated hierarchy in bowing. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡೋದು. ನಾವು ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ಹೋದವರಿಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ಬೋದು ಇವರು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಹೈರಾರ್ಕಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಈಗ ಹೈರಾರ್ಕಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೇಗೆ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಂತ ಉಂಟು. ನಾವೀಗ ಚಿಕ್ಕವರನ್ನು ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಮೇ ಬಿ ಹಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಕಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಲ್ಲ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗಾದರೆ. ಅದೇ ದೊಡ್ಡವರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಡರ್ಲಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಗೆ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ನಾವು, ವಿ ಟಚ್ ದೇಯರ್ ಫೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಹ ಹೈರಾರ್ಕಿ ಉಂಟು, ಹೇಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕವರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಜಾಪನೀಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಹೈರಾರ್ಕಿ ಇನ್ ಬೋಯಿಂಗ್. ಹೂ ಬೋಸ್ ಟು whom, how deeply and for how long. One of the American states had an early traffic rule which laid down that if two cars met at an intersection, neither was to move before the other had gone. So he says they have an hierarchy of bowing. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟು, ಒಂದು ಸೆಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ he gives us an example of an American law. Okay, he says in America there was a rule that if an early traffic, there was a law, now it might not be there, an early traffic law where if two cars, if they are moving and if they meet at an intersection, the other car has to allow the other person to move. They should be so courteous that they have to allow the other person to move. Okay, even in Dubai you must have heard about this, that if the vehicle is moving, or if there is a passerby who has to pass to the other side, the car or the vehicles have to stop and let the other person, the pedestrian, to walk to the other side. So that is the traffic rule followed there. So same way in America also, there is a rule for courtesy where if two cars are moving and they collide or they meet in the intersection, what happens, the other person has to allow the other person to move. So if two cars met at an intersection, neither was to move before the other had gone. So once the other car goes, then only the next car has to move. That is the rule then. Similarly, if two Japanese bow, neither is to straighten up before the other stands erect in front of him. Same way, if two Japanese people are bowing or two persons are bowing, one person The other person has to stand erect only when the person whom he is bowing just straightens up. ಈಗ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಜಪಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಯಾವಾಗ ಅವನು ಎದ್ದು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವನ ಮುಂದೆ ನಿಂತ ನಂತರವೇ ಇವನು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. So if two Japanese bow, neither is to straighten up before the other stands erect in front of him. A little smallest difference is rank, standing, age, social position will be subtly reflected in that split second one man's bow is shorter than the others. ಇದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಗೊತ್ತಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಅದು ಯಾರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ನಿಲ್ಬೋದು ಇರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಈಗ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹೈಯರ್ ರ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲಿದ್ದರೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಲೋವರ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದರೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಬ್ಬ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆಯಿತಾ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ straight first and later the student has to stand straight. Okay, till then he has to wait when the principal will stand erect. Got it? So it is based on the position, it's based on the rank, it's based on the age also. Okay, so social position will be subtly reflected in that split second. ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೊತ್ತು ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ತುಂಬ ಹೊತ್ತು ನಾವು ನಿಲ್ಬೇಕಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಅವರು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಂತ ಮೇಲೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರ್ಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್, ಒಂದು ಮೊಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆಗ ನೀವು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. In many cases there are clear cut differences in position and no difficulties. The basic rules inside the family, even inside the family there are rules of how to bow, whom to bow, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಒಳಗೇನೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೂಲ್ ಉಂಟು. The basic rules inside the family is the wife bows to her husband. Of course wife husbandಗೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಇಬ್ಬರು ಬೋ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಲ್ತಾನೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ವೈಫ್ ಅವನಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಿಲ್ಬೇಕು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಆಗಿ. The child bows to his father, younger brother bows to elder brother, sister bows to all the brothers whatever age. ಆದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಸಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಯಾವುದೇ ಏಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಲಿ, ಆ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಿದ್ದರೂ ಅವಳು ಬೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಆಯಿತಾ. ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್, the wife has to go to the husband, the child has to go to the father, younger brothers to the elder brothers, but sister, even though she is elder, she has to go to the younger brothers. Okay, I saw babies carried in Japanese style on their mother's back in clever little saddles, and whenever mother bowed, baby bowed too, somewhat condescendingly from his majestic height. So when did this act of bowing, when does this act of bowing start? Okay, it starts right from the baby when it is tied to the saddle in the mother's back. ಆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಬ್ಯಾಗಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾಳಲ್ಲ, ಆಗಲೇ ಮಗು ಬೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನು ಕಲಿತದೆ ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತಾನೆ ಅವನು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆಂದಾಗಿ ಗ್ರೇಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದ ಮದರ್ ವೆನ್ ಶಿ ಟೈಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಯಾಡಲ್ and when she holds the baby in that saddle, and when she bends before her husband, the baby also bends, and that is where the baby also masters this art of bowing. Japanese stores employ bowing girls who stand at the top of the escalators and whose only duty is to bow deeply and differentially to all and sundry. The Japanese equivalent of page boys. So it has become an employment also. Bowing is an employment also. There, especially bowing girls are being used. Bowing girls are used or employed in big malls and all, where bowing girls are placed near the escalators or near the doors, or whenever the guests come, these bowing girls have to bend. Okay, so their duty is to bow deeply and differentially. Differentially here means respectfully. Underline ಮಾಡಿ, deeply ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Bend deeply and differentially. Differentially ಅಂದರೆ humbly or respectfully to all and sundry. I request you to underline the word all and sundry. All and sundry ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ, ಆಯಿತಾ. All and sundry of everyone. Underline, it is important. All and sundry means everyone. So that's what it has become a employment also there, where bowing girls are employed in the What? In the hotels or in the malls. On the famous and fast Tokaido line between Tokyo and Osaka, two conductors. So, on the famous and Tokaido line between Tokyo and Osaka, two conductors enter the carriage in a slightly theatrical manner. Scene. They march to the middle of the coach, bow ceremoniously in both directions, and then start checking the tickets. So here he talks about what kind of mania of Boeing is there in Japan. ಹೇಗೆ ಬೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹುಚ್ಚಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಜಪಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಈವನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಟ್ರೈನ್, ಯಾವ ಟ್ರೈನ್, he gives us a reference to a Tokaido line train which travels from Tokyo and Osaka, two important stations. ಟೋಕಿಯೋ ಇಂದ ಒಸಾಕಾಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗುವ ಟೋಕಿಯಾಡೋ ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ, ಆ ಟ್ರೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಟೂ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಟಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ಟೋಕಿಯಾಡೋ ಲೈನ್ ಆ ಟ್ರೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಟೂ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ದೇ ಬೋ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಸೆರೆಮೋನಿಯಸ್ಲಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋದಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬೋ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಆಯಿತಾ. They march to the middle of the coach, bow ceremoniously in both the directions, and then start checking the ticket. So look at the courtesy they are adopting. They just enter and they don't straight away go and start collecting the ticket or checking the ticket. They just go and stand in the middle of the coach and then go to the either sides. ಎರಡು ಕಡೆ ಬೋ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಟಿಕೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. This is one of the reference he gives about the mania of Boeing in Japan. ಹೇಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಲೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಒಂದು ಕಾಮನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. That's again quite interestingly or humorously he talks about how the animals also keep on going there. Okay, he says in the next line, as you can see, he says, in one of the parts of Nara I met a deer. I bought a pack of food for him. He came up to me, looked into my eyes and bowed deeply. It was no chance gesture. It was a proper and courteous bow. Perhaps deer was more imitative than I knew. Perhaps if they see people bowing all the time, they get into habit too. Perhaps it is genetic or is in the blood of Japanese deer. I don't know. So here he humorously points out how animals are also affected by this mania of bowing. ಹೇಗೆ animals ಈ bowing ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹುಚ್ಚಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ. They are having the mania of bowing. He says he visited a place called Nara. Nara ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಚುರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, Nara ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ವೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಚುರಿ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಇದೆ in Nara in Japan. Nara is a wildlife park. In that place, when the writer visited, he saw a deer. Okay, so he bought a packet of some food for the deer. So as soon as the deer came up to him, it looked into the author's eyes and it just bowed. Okay, it bowed before him, and it was so he assumes that deers are the most imitative creatures maybe, or maybe it is in the blood of the Japanese creatures, whichever, even it is man or animals, bowing is in the blood, or it is genetic in Japanese people. So he says perhaps deers are more imitative than I knew. Perhaps if these people, or perhaps he assumes, he says maybe these deers must be imitative, which the writer doesn't know. He felt only parrots are imitative or monkeys are imitative. He feels in Japan that even deers are imitative, or he feels maybe the deers, after looking at these people bowing every time, it has also started getting this habit, or maybe it is in the blood or it is in genetic in Japan, the people or the animals being affected by this mania. I do not know, he doesn't know what is the real reason, but I do know that the deer bowed to me, then jumped at me and then snatched the little food bag from my hand. So after bowing, that is the act of respecting, and later it just forgot everything, just pulled the food bag, the food packet which he was holding, and just went off. So he says the act of respecting the other person is limited only to the act of bowing, and later it will come to its true color. It just pulled the food packet from his hand, he snatched it. He uses the word snatched it, and just it went off, he says. Okay, So here he talks about how the act of bowing is followed in Japan. Then he says, in this too, the deer was a true Japanese. So he says the deers are also true Japanese. So why he says deers are also true Japanese? He says, as I told you, that their act of respecting others is limited to bowing, and after that they will come to their true colors. So he gives us a reference of one more thing in Japan. He says you can often see people bowing to each other with a ceremonious serenity at bus stops. But as soon as the bus drive arrives, the bowing gentlemen are transformed into savages. They push each other aside, tread on each other's toes, and show their elbows into each other's stomachs. So as soon he says, in the bus stops also we have seen people going to each other in a ceremonious serenity. Serenity underline ಮಾಡಿ. Serenity means calm ಆಗಿ, calmness, CALM. ಕಾಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವರು ಬೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಬಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಜನಗಳು. ಆದರೆ when they will come to their true colors, whenever the bus arrives, ಒಂದು ಸಲ ಬಸ್ ಬಂದರೆ the bowing gentlemen are transformed into savages. ಅವರು ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಸ್ ಬಂದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಆ ಬೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಜೆಂಟಲ್ಮೆನ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಜನರು, ಅವರು ಸ್ಯಾವೇಜ್ ಆಗಿ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಕ್ರೀಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಕಾಡು ಮನುಷ್ಯರಾಗಿ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಪುಷ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್. ಅವರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರನ್ನು ಹಿಂದೆ, ನೀವು ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ವಾ, ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟರವರೆಗೆ ನಿಲ್ತಾರೆ ಬಸ್ ಹಿಡಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಲೇಟರ್ ವೆನ್ ದ ಬಸ್ ಅರೈವ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಪುಷ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್. ದೇ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ದ ಬಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಟ್ರೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ಹಾಗೆ, ನೀವು ಮುಂಬೈ ಟ್ರೈನಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದರೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಪುಷ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್ ಅಸೈಡ್, ದೇ ಟ್ರೆಡ್ ಆನ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಟೋಸ್. ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಕಾಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಲು ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ ದೇ ಶೋ ದೇರ್ ಎಲ್ಬೋಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕುಟ್ತಾರೆ, ಪುಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಇಂಟು ದ ಅದರ್ ಸ್ಟಮಕ್ಸ್. ಆ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್, ಯಾವ ಕರ್ಟಸಿ ತೋರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಮರೆತು ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. So their act of bowing is respecting other person is limited only to the bowing, and later they come to their true colors. That is what the deer was. He gives the example. He compares it to the deer also, where the deer first when it sees the author, it just bows, and later it just snatches the food packet and runs. So here in this paragraph he talks about the act of bowing in Japan. You see, in the Japanese manner he talks about how the Japanese respected the act of privacy, who respected the privacy of others. In second paragraph we saw how he was talking about the mania in Japan, mania of bowing in Japan. Next, in the third thing he observed there, which he has recorded, he has told about eating soup in Japan, how to eat soup in Japan. He says eating soup has more dangers than almost anything else. So if you are in Japan or if you have been to Japan, you have to see the way they eat their soup. So it is the most dangerous thing of eating soup in Japan. When eating a soup, you must make a fearful noise. It is a sign of appreciation. If you don't, your hostess will think, what an ill-mannered lout. So he says in Japan, if you are in Japan, whenever you are eating a soup or a dish, you have to make a noise or a slurping noise. ಹಾಗೆ ಸ್ಲರ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಅ ಸ್ಲರ್ಪ್, ಅ ನಾಯ್ಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸೈನ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಪ್ರಿಸಿಯೇಷನ್. ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ತಿನ್ನುವಾಗ ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಆಯಿತಾ. ಸೂಪ್ ತಿನ್ನುವಾಗ, ಜ್ಯೂಸ್ ತಿನ್ನುವಾಗ, ಟೀ ಕುಡಿಯುವಾಗ ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ದೇ ಲೈಕ್ ಇಟ್. ದ ಹೋಸ್ಟೆಸ್, ಯಾರು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫೀಲ್ ಗುಡ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಈಟ್ ಕ್ವೈಟ್ಲಿ, ನೀವು ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ದೇ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಯು ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಇಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನರ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಟೀ ಕುಡಿಯುವಾಗ ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಪಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಅಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಈಟಿಂಗ್ soup you have to make a loud noise, and if you don't make it, the hostess will consider you as ill mannered lout. Underline ಮಾಡಿ, ill mannered ಅಂದರೆ ಇವನಿಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನರ್ಸೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹಾಗೆ, ill mannered lout. But if you do, she will think no reasonably well brought up. If you do, she will think no reasonably well brought up European makes such disgusting noises while eating soup. He must be an ill-mannered lout. Okay, so she says But in Europe, if you make noise while eating soup, then you will be considered as an ill-mannered lout. But in Japan, if you do not make noise, that is considered as ill-mannered. So this is all about the Japanese culture, and here he mostly talks about the people of that place. More than the place of visit, he talks about the culture, the tradition and the manners of the people there. So in his book, the Land of Rising N, he has written these things. So in this lesson, it is given briefly, a small excerpt, a small portion is taken from that book. The book is The Land of Rising N, and it is given for you for your lesson. So if you get a chance, you can read that whole book. So this is all about Japanese mannerism, where we have learned about George Mikish talks about the mania of going in Japan, how Japanese people value privacy, and also he has told us about the act of eating soup.